morning, home builders. This is kind of an extra video because as I was looking through, I realized I did not do one for day 49 a little over a week ago. So we're kind of in a place where we have all kinds of opportunities for cool backdrops, and so I figured do an extra one, even though it's on a Sunday. So we'll get today's on Sunday, and then we'll have more throughout the week. We're here at Fort Pulaski National Monument. This is in Georgia at the mouth of the Savannah River, and just across the sound, I guess you could say, from one of Keith's favorite places, Hilton Head, South Carolina. This is a fort that was built in the 1840s, and at the very beginning of the Civil War, Georgia troops came in and they took the fort. And after they took the fort, the Union then sieged it and eventually took the fort. It was eventually abandoned later in the 1800s after the war was over. But the lesson for today is called Faith and Unbelief. It's day 49 in the Renew book, and it's from Mark chapter 9, 22 through 24. This is the point where Jesus is on the Mount of Transfiguration, and a man comes up with this possessed child of his, and he says, "And oftentimes it hath cast him into the fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if thou canst do anything, have compassion on us and help us." Jesus said unto him, "If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth." And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, "Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief." An example is given by the author about an impala in Africa, and he's able to jump, in theory, over 10 feet tall. Yet, as long as you put a fence, just really short fence around them, they'll stay where they're at and they will not go over, because they don't have a belief in what they actually can do. They have unbelief. When I was here in this story, the father of the child acknowledged that he had a problem with unbelief, and really that is ultimately the sin that condemns us. Before we are saved, we have this sin of unbelief. Unbelief is a major problem, and we need to ask for help from that. When I can imagine that as the Confederate soldiers that were garrisoned here looked out into the river that comes in from the ocean here, and they saw the Union troops starting to surround, and then inland here there was another battery that was set up by the Union troops. And if you look further down this way on Tybee Island, there was a whole nother battery that was shooting cannons over here, that they may have had some unbelief too, and their unbelief was well taken. Because as I was thinking about this lesson, and I was thinking about this place, I thought about, where do we get our belief or our faith from in the first place? And as we know, it ought to come from the Lord. When General Lee stationed General Olmsted here to secure this fort, and he garrisoned Confederate troops here, he tried to put General Olmsted at ease and say, "Hey, this fort is the ultimate fort. It cannot be taken. You're gonna be all right." And they had everything prepared. You look at the design of this fort; it is spectacular. We'll show you in just a moment. There's a moat. There's even a moat around this thing. I've never been to a fort or a castle that has a real moat, and they still have that here. They have magazines for munitions buried underground. They have 200,000 gallons worth of water that they can store in cisterns underneath this fort. They were prepared. This fort was as good as it gets. Yet, all it took was one simple change in munitions and the invention of the rifled cannon, and within 30 hours, this fort fell. So, where do we get our belief or our faith from? Is it in the Lord? Is that where we look to our help? Or is it in inventions of man? Robert E. Lee, it was in inventions of man. It was creations of man. It was very humanistic, and he said, this fort can't be taken, you're going to be fine. And that proved to absolutely be incorrect. So those are kind of the things I was thinking about as we're sitting here and reading this lesson. I'll let Angie take the camera around and show you just a little bit of the grounds here. We're on top of the wall right now, and you can see how really wide this thing is and how many people you could stash up on this wall shooting cannons out. You can see this giant cannon here. They're all over the wall. You can see, as Angie turns around, you can see all of the grounds. They even planted trees. There's a giant big tree down in here that they can get from. There's just all kinds of cool stuff. And then hopefully she will go over to the corner and show you this really cool moat, these earthen mounds that they buried some of their ammunition and their gunpowder in. It's just a really, really, really cool place. This has got to be one of the more preserved forts around. I've never been here before, but I'm glad that we